Are you ready?
Ready.
All right, let's go. Kevin here, top 1 financial advisor and best-selling author. We are here to talk about the stock market. Today, I am going to give you two companies really, to add to your watch list. Now, I went through and made an entire watch list. I actually picked 6 companies. I carefully picked these 6 companies for some specific attributes, and I put all 6 inside the members only. And I'm taking just 2 of those out to give these to you today. If you want the full list, make sure you check out the members only. Now, the other day, we did our anti-watch list, stuff you probably don't want to have moving forward. And now I'm going to flip the script just a little bit and give you some insights on things you really want to consider investing in and areas to kind of take a look at. Now, here's the thing. Should we go into a recession? Should this be significant? Every recession is different, and that's what makes things just a little bit difficult, because some recessions, it's investing in one thing, let's say energy or utilities or something like that, and maybe it's even REITs, real estate investment trusts. Sometimes it's just where you go, and then in other recessions, it's the complete opposite. The last recession that we did have was in 2020. I know we always just default back to 2008. We were in a recession in 2020. It did happen. It was quick, but it did occur. What happened though is at that point in time, it was stay-at-home stocks. Who would have thought that, right? Most of the times it's food, it's groceries, it's stuff like Kroger, and those did do well, especially Kroger back at that point in time. Still good. I still hold it. But aside from that, every recession is different. So it is very difficult, especially when you are not officially there and we're not, really in the midst of it, even though inflation is bad and the job market is slightly slowing down, not by a lot. But here's the thing. We know, and we've talked about this before, that Americans are through about 30% of their savings. Okay, that's 30%. It's not the whole thing. I would prefer us to not be doing that. But in either way, that money is going to run out at some point. That was the surplus that people were saving from the COVID era. So that's number one. We also saw from Citibank today, and this is not the only bank that is doing this, and we even talked about this last time the banks did earnings, they're increasing their loan loss reserves. That is the money that they're setting aside because they feel like people are not going to be able to pay back, a certain percentage of people rather, are not going to be able to pay back those loans. So they're saying, look, whether it's mortgage, whether it's a business loan, whether it's auto loan, some of y'all not going to be able to pay it back. I think things are not going to trend in the best direction. So instead of loaning that money out and making money on the money that I'm loaning, I'm going to hold it here. I'm going to just hold on to it because when somebody, unfortunately falls on hard times, I'm going to have to cover that loss. And that's what they are doing. And again, this is not the first quarter they have done this. In fact, it kind of speaks to like how significant this could be. Their net income, Citi, we're talking about this morning, they reported a 25% drop in net income. So that the money they have after all the bills are paid is 25% less. And they said, look, the reason why it's that much less because we decided just to hold on to a little bit of it because we think things aren't going to go well. So again, it tells us that things might not be on the up and up over the next 6 to 12 months, and we'll see where things go. So aside from all of that, and I'm sorry if that induces a little bit of anxiety because I hate painting a bad picture, but I got to tell you the truth and reality in a way that makes sense. But if that's going to be the case, where should you invest? Okay, there are a number of places. We've talked about dividend stocks before. I do think and still believe the healthcare and insurance are places that are going to make the absolute most sense. Utilities can be a little iffy. I actually went back and looked at the data. Some companies like American Electric Power actually do pretty bad in recessions, which is opposite to what I would have thought. But that's not the case with every single utility out there. So healthcare you definitely want to take a look at. Consider looking at REITs. We've talked a little bit about that before. If you want me to kind of do a refresh list, feel free to let me know. Just put it in the comments when we talk about it. But all that aside, 2 companies that I think you definitely want to take a look at. One of them you probably already know because I've already invested in it. I've been loud about that company. And then one that I think is a little bit under the radar. So I'll start with the one that's under the radar first, and then we'll go to the one that you may already know. This one is CPB. That is Campbell Soup. Yes, Campbell Soup is up 12% in the last 6 months and up 35% in the last year. What I like about Campbell Soup, other than it being the perfect cold weather dish, which we're moving into cold weather season, so you might see a spike in sales, Maybe. I don't know if there's any data to support that. I'm just saying it just makes a lot of sense here. But aside from that, other than it obviously having momentum, if the market is down double digits, when you see a company that's up double digits, both in the last 6 months and over last year, more likely than not is going to continue on that trend. We also know, very similar to Hershey that we have talked about, they can raise prices by just a bit to fight off inflation, and people are going to have to pay it anyway. It is a food product. You're going to have to pay it anyway if you want to eat. And Campbell Soup is obviously one of the most important players in that space, especially, again, when you're going to comfort food season. This would be the time to kind of do that. Aside from that, what I like most about it, and I feel like I'm kind of looping my conversation because I think about it and then I get into the food aspect. But from a stock market perspective, what I like most about it here is they have a lot of insider buying. Insider buying, if you missed that episode, number one, hit the like button and subscribe now. Go ahead and do that so you don't miss the next one. But aside from that, we did a whole, I want to say 2 or 3 videos on insider buying. What that means is when CEOs, board members, people who own tens of millions of dollars in these companies, anytime they buy or sell, it has to be reported. And what we have noticed, and by we, I mean people who read, because I didn't create the study. There was a study done by Harvard, I think it was in the early 2000s, that showed that when insiders buy a stock that they own, that they work at or that they own, their performance tends to be better, about 10% better than what the market does, which is good to know. So we have seen, especially for Campbell Soup, we've seen a lot of insider buys within the last 3 months or so. That means people at the company believe in the future of the company, and they know a bit more than what we may know. If they're buying, and I see the company has done well, and their financials are also good, it might make a good investment. And it's one that makes sense, right? It's not like Enphase, not to say Enphase is not a bad company, because we did a whole breakdown on that. I think it's actually pretty good. But we can debate about solar panels and technology and competition. It's a lot more difficult to get down to the literal nuts and bolts to how Enphase works, or any really high-tech company or even manufacturing company, compared to something like Campbell Soup. You know Campbell Soup. Period. And it has made money, and people at the company are buying. I don't really need to sell it anymore, right? I think we all just, Campbell Soup, sure, it makes sense, especially because it's in an industry that people got to eat, right? So that is one very, very easy company to look at that has done quite well. Add it to your watch list. Now, if you want to kind of start at Campbell Soup and kind of look at other companies around it, I talked about Hershey's. Hershey's is out there. Kellogg's is out there. They've done pretty good. They are going through a split where they are splitting the company into 3 different divisions. I talked about that maybe back in August or so. Actually, no, back in June, did an entire video about how that is kind of shaking out. So feel free to take that out, check that video out, and kind of look in those spaces. These food areas are going to make a lot of sense should things get worse, but also they've made a lot of sense all year long. Next here, you want to look at Progressive. Now, I've been telling you about insurance for a while. And while I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, don't put me on no perfect list. Don't put me on a 100% this is going to happen type of list. I make mistakes, okay? But insurance has not been one of those mistakes. I've talked about whether it's United Healthcare or Allstate or Cigna. Most of them rather have done quite well, but Progressive is the one that I am honing in on. I personally already own Progressive, so I'm going out and telling you that now. I told y'all when I bought it back in June. But in either case, they're up just 7% in the last 6 months. That's not exciting, but again, market is down double digits. They're up 37% in the last year. What I like about insurance, other than the fact that it is just a cash business, people pay you, and more likely than not, just on the law of averages, you don't pay them. So you just collect that cash and you keep it rolling. But what I like most about Progressive, and I said this in our members only, is it is required. You got to have auto insurance. You got to have home insurance. And again, by all the money they spend on marketing, you better be pulling in somebody. And I think that is obviously the case here with Progressive. It's the only weakness here. Maybe 2 weaknesses. One, it doesn't have a whole bunch of insider buying. Now, perhaps when I bought it, it probably did at that point in time, which is one of the determining factors as to why I bought it then. But it's still a solid company. If things continue on the trend that it has been going, I think it's still going to be quite solid here in the very near future. The last thing is, in terms of, I wouldn't necessarily call this a weakness. However, there are a bunch of insurance companies you can choose from. I can't sit here and tell you they're all the same, because health insurance is different than auto insurance. But whether it's, again, Allstate, Cigna, Humana, Aetna, No, not Aetna. I don't know how Aetna is, but Anthem was doing well at one point of the year. You pick and choose which one. My personal one was Progressive, and I would love if you got an insurance company that you think does better. That's totally fine. Let me know in the comments if we can look at that. But those are the two things that you want to look at: Campbell's Chicken Soup and Progressive. Add them to your watch list, do your research, and let me know which one you like. As a whole, those are just areas, whether it's health, whether it's food, grocery stores, and some of those defensive stocks still make a lot of sense. Costco hasn't done all that great. Walmart hasn't done that great. Target has not done great from the last time that we looked at it. So things are going to be a bit different. And again, supply chain still factors into this. Inflation obviously still factors into this. Every recession is different. And this is assuming, and I'm at like a 98%, it's going to be here and it's going to be bad. But in either case, each one of these situations is different. But these are the two areas that I'm like honing in on and saying, I think these companies absolutely make sense right now with or without recession. But should things continue on the same path or get worse, these companies have a proven track record of making money. All right. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure you check out the members only for the entire list, as well as some of the metrics and tools I use to find these companies and determine whether they are of quality or not. I know investing can be difficult, especially in this turbulent time. So feel free to join the members only. Ask your questions, and we can do a video like this and help you explain and show you examples of what makes sense, what makes sense, but also what to buy, what may not make sense to buy, and then how you can manage your money, your portfolio in times like this. All right, that is it for me. I'll talk to you later. Bye.